What's good, y'all? It is Sean P. the Bluff God. Hey! And we back with another reaction stream. Today, we'll be doing episode 3 of the Library of Arthur, the Library of Ohara. His big theory that he's pretty much doing, in multiple parts, because it's like the biggest One Piece theory of of him, at least of him. But I mean, it's probably one of the biggest theories that I've ever seen, as far as like really broken down in the video format. So I can't really disagree with him. And this one is, I think it's titled Who Was Joy Boy? The Void Century Explained. So yeah, so this is part of his series that we're gonna get into. You know that we already covered 2 other episodes, and I've been enjoying it. And this one is about Joy Boy. So before I really get into it, let me first let me say, if you haven't already, like the stream, show your boy some love, like the stream, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I am doing a giveaway at 50 subscribers. It will be, it's the first channel giveaway, but it won't be the last. I'm trying to do these every time we hit a milestone. I'm gonna do some type of giveaway for each milestone we hit, and this is, the first small milestone that I'm really trying to hit 50 subscribers. And I want to give back to people who rock with me. And anyway, also make sure you follow me on other social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Blumph God. That's how you search it. My Instagram and Twitter and my Facebook, they're all in the description box where you will be able to find them. You'll also be able to find the link to our Facebook group and the link to Discord, the One Piece Discord. So yeah, make sure you're part of those. Become part of the community. But anyway, just to set the video. So far, I want to say the last video I did was about the moon. It was about the moon. The first video was about Luffy's overall dream. Like, what is his dream? Like, we know it's to find the One Piece, become Pirate King. But what does he want to do? Like, what's the main thing he's trying to accomplish? And that, the theory of that was he's trying to have the biggest party in the world. Unite everybody in the world with a big party. And that we've seen that. We've seen at the end of each arc, he always throws a big party. And so this one's about Joy Boy and the Void Century. And I want to see how his theory on who Joy Boy is kind of in line with one of the previous theories that I've done about Joy Boy, about it being like there was this theory I did last week from Reddit where it was at the end of my, I think, was it the inherited will theory? I think it was at the end of that inherited will theory that talks about what the One Piece is, and then it talks about Joy Boy being the king of the ancient kingdom. I mean, I'll probably go in about it more either throughout the video or maybe at the end of the video. But I want to hear what he has to say first. I just want to see if it kind of lines up with that theory that I read, because a lot of these theories have been connecting. They've been connecting for me, so maybe this one might connect to one of the previous theories that I did. Anyway, let's get into it. It is, again, the link to this video will be in the description, so make sure you give Artur, the Library of Ohara, a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. He creates a lot of great content. So yeah, the title of this video is Who was Joy Boy? The Void Century Explained. One Piece, the true history. So let's get into it. All right. Let's go.
Who was Joy Boy? Who is this individual whose name has echoed across the ages? What type of person was he, and what were his ideals? And most importantly, what is it that drove him to create the One Piece?
So, according to Artur already, I guess here he's implying that Joy Boy created the One Piece. And the One Piece isn't something that was just around, I guess. Like, it wasn't just, it was something that was created. So that's kind of, I think just that one phrase alone, that one phrase alone he said just kind of, it means a lot to say that he created the One Piece instead of maybe he just had possession of the One Piece. I kind of have my theory on what the One Piece is, but I already spoke about it. I might actually make some videos to talk about it some more, though. Maybe take a lot of other theories that I've seen and link them together, Because there's a lot of other theories about what the One Piece is. So maybe, that might actually connect something different. All these other theories might make me create a different theory. I don't know. But okay, let's read. It said, this video is the third episode in an 8-part video series about all the secrets in the world of One Piece. It is recommended to watch all 8 videos in order for maximum enjoyment, but it isn't required to enjoy the videos. So you can still watch ahead if you want. All episodes will be linked in order in the description. So if you want to watch them ahead of me, I'm kind of doing these weekly. If you want to watch ahead of me, maybe if you do watch ahead, you'll come here and I don't know, be more prepared when I do these reaction videos. Go ahead. You could go to the link in the description box to this video and, start from there. Everything in this video is my speculation alone. The world before Joy Boy.
Well, to understand that, we first need to understand how the world was before he was born. And, as we talked about, we've seen that the world of One Piece has always been steeped in racism and discrimination. While racism is not inherently bound to one particular race, the sheer superiority in numbers of the humans resulted in them persecuting most of the other races. Most human societies would thrive on their own, driving other races away. Because of this, the other races sought remote locations to escape this discrimination. The fishfolk and merfolk went to live on the seafloor, the minks went to live on the back of a giant elephant, and the skyfolk went to live on the moon, and later on the Sky Islands. Those who remained in the blue sea, such as the Kuja, the Giants, or the Shandorians, had to become fierce warriors in order to keep intruders away. The races that couldn't adapt, like the dwarves, fell under the submission of humans.
And the Cujo, the Boa Hancock's people, unless he's considering them human. But I think in one of his previous videos, he kind of said the Cujo was kind of a different race. But hold on, unless he said them, did y'all hear him say it? Because I didn't really hear him say the Cujo. We're gonna go back a little bit
to escape this discrimination. The fishfolk and merfolk went to live on the seafloor, the minks went to live on the back of a giant elephant, and the skyfolk went to live on the moon, and later on the Sky Islands. Those who remained in the blue sea, such as the Kuja, the Giants, or the Shandorians, had become fierce warriors in order to keep intruders away. The races that couldn't adapt, like the dwarves, fell under the submission of humans. Humans had simply accepted this as their natural right. They were the ones in power, they were the ones who had the advantage in numbers, and because of that, the race became the normal. Humans were the de facto rulers of the world, they had a monopoly in it, and those oppressed had no other choice but to submit or fight to survive. And while it's important to understand that these different races were being discriminated against, this is something that did not apply to just them, but even humans themselves. Because
Exactly.
even among humans, there existed a hierarchy: the powerful and rich, and the common folk, the poor. The common folk had no choice but to follow those above them, and even below them were those in even more miserable conditions. Slaves, deprived of any and all freedom, or the oppressed, ruled over by tyrants. Millions had to suffer and submit for the privilege of just a few select at the top. And because those at the top held the power, no one could change how the world worked. Freedom was nothing more than a dream. However, at one point, one boy arose to reject this very belief and to challenge the whole world to a fight. The name of this boy has been lost to history, but there was another name he was known by, an epithet that encapsulated who this person was at their core, someone who was known as Joy Boy. But who was Joy Boy? For someone who is at the very center of all of these mysteries, he's rarely ever been mentioned, if at all. So for first step, let's gather together all that we know about him for a fact. Number 1, while the presence of a figure like Joy Boy was something that was hinted at across the entire series, the first time he was ever named was in a poneglyph found at Fishman Island, which is a written record of an apology by Joy Boy to the mermaid princess of the Void Century. There he apologized for not being able to keep a certain promise that he made with the people of Fishman Island, seemingly involving the Noah Ark. Neptune claimed that keeping the Noah Ark safe was their duty to fulfill their part of the promise, keeping it intact until a certain day arrived. Otohime shed more light on this, explaining that one day a man would arise and guide this new mermaid princess to using her powers the right way, leading to a big change in the world. This was also mentioned by Odin, claiming that the borders of the Wano country had to open for when Joy Boy arrived. And more importantly, during his execution, he even implied that this man, supposedly Joy Boy, would travel across 800 years into the future. But this poses a very odd question. What did Odin mean by Joy Boy traveling across 800 years? Is he immortal? A time traveler? Someone sent by Toki? A spirit? Or something else?
It was his, his will. That's what I'm assuming. Like almost kind of reincarnation. Like he, because who's to say that Joy Boy wasn't like just a code name of multiple people who inherited a specific being's will. You know what I'm saying? And the Joy Boy from history might be the first Joy Boy. Like Roger could have been he could not, maybe not the second. Like, there could have been other Joy Boys, or people that kind of inherited the Joy Boy will, or maybe Joy Boy was more of like the sun god, right? The sun god Nika, for example. Maybe Joy Boy was a living incarnation of the sun god, and then maybe Goldie Roger, inherited that will, and then we got Luffy, and there could have been other people. And one thing that kind of sticks out to me about that was recently, it was in a recent episode. I want to say it was like 2 episodes ago on One Piece. If it was the episode where X Drake got found out that he was really a spy from Queen and Who's Who and Hawkins, and then him and Luffy kind of unexpectedly tag team 2 numbers, but Luffy went Gear 4 mode at that point. Like before all that went down, Luffy went Gear 4, and when he was in Gear 4 mode, one thing that stuck out to me that I don't remember it being in the manga, maybe it was, but I don't really remember it. But one thing that stuck out to me was when we had Hyogoro. He said that form, talking about Luffy's Gear 4 form, reminds me of the sun god. So if that is the case, again, and there was the moment in Skypiea when they was dancing by the fire. That's another kind of relation that Luffy and the sun god had. But maybe Joy Boy was also kind of, maybe he was also the sun god. And, so it might not necessarily be Joy Boy's will being inherited. Maybe Joy Boy was inherited the sun god's will, or let's say the sun god's will. So there might have been multiple people in history that inherited that same will, and Joy Boy just might happen to be the first person. Well, let's go.
Well, that's a question we'll leave for later, because at present, I just want to focus on who Joy Boy was back in the day, and I want to focus on the biggest clue that we've got
Joy Boy
about
theories.
him. The fact that Joy Boy was the one who left behind the One Piece. That is undeniably a massive revelation, which completely recontextualized a lot of things, but truth be told, I had already long since realized that was likely the case by the time it was revealed in the manga, because I had realized exactly this. Joy Boy was undeniably a very important figure, perhaps the most important figure in the entirety of the Void Century, and I think in that regard, Joy Boy held one of the most important positions in the world. He was potentially the ruler, the king of the Great Kingdom.
The fact that he said that was what I was going to say earlier. If you go back and watch my watch the first Reddit theories video I did about what the One Piece was, it talks about Joy Boy being the king of the ancient kingdom, right? And I was kind of thinking, like I was kind of hoping he might go there. He went there. He went there. Now I'm gonna let him talk, but I got another idea. Something that just kind of came over me was, I believe that him and maybe Im Sama, because I think Im Sama might have been around during that period as well. He might have been around the Void Century. Like Im might actually be immortal for what we know. If you think about Im immortal, and he does, he looks like he might not be necessarily human or from like, I don't know what Im is. We haven't really seen Im, but he looks a little weird, right? But then again, all One Piece characters kind of look weird. But I will go as far as to say maybe him and Joy Boy were rivals, or they were just like, like Im probably led the 20 kingdoms that eventually became the world government, and like even maybe behind like in secrecy, and then Joy Boy probably was the only person who knew about Im at that time or whatever. Maybe not, I don't know. But I think Joy Boy was also a giant, kind of relating them to. I think Joy Boy was a giant because we see that big straw hat in that chamber that Im went to, and it was like a big straw hat that would probably fit somebody who is a giant. So, and I think that was maybe a trophy for Im. Like Im probably looked at that as a trophy, a trophy from his old rival. But that's for another day. The Great Kingdom.
But to explain why I think that is the case, we need to first better understand what the Great Kingdom itself was. For being such an important faction in the story of the Void Century and the center of so many theories, much like Joy Boy, it's odd to think that the Great Kingdom has really only been properly mentioned and explained once. During Robin's flashback, Clover told the Gorosei that through the research of the poneglyph they had found and other documents that had survived the Great Purge, they discovered the existence of this Great Kingdom. Now, it is important to note that while this is the name commonly used by fans, it's not exactly the most accurate of translations. Great isn't really a title, but really just an adjective that Clover used to describe the kingdom, which is actually
giants.
more translatable to immense, or in Japanese, Kyodai na Okoku. However, I will still be using Great Kingdom to refer to it, since it is the term that the fandom is most familiar with anyway. But yeah, in other words, Clover said that they found the existence of an immense kingdom. Immense implies a sense of size, scope, though it may not necessarily mean actual, tangible, physical size, such as living on a massive island. Rather, I think he meant that the kingdom was so immense because it wasn't limited by any natural borders.
Okay.
More on that later. The kingdom was furthermore said to boast mighty power, though it is never specified if this power was used for good or for evil. This indicates that either they had a lot of manpower as part of their immense influence, or perhaps it might have even been referring to the existence of the ancient weapons, which the Great Kingdom is implied to be connected to. As we know, the kingdom had an enemy, and this enemy was an alliance of different human kingdoms, who would later become the founders of the world government. And what Clover theorized is that the reason why the government erased all information about the Great Kingdom is not because they feared the ancient weapons or because they feared the power of the kingdom, but because they feared its ideals. What frightened the government the most was not the power of the kingdom, but the ideals that said kingdom embodied. Or in other words, it's possible that the government feared Joy Boy's ideals. And it's these ideals that Joy Boy held so close to his heart that helped tie and connect everything together. Because
he might talk about it, but I kind of want that's kind of interesting. He's talk about like they feared the ideals of the ancient kingdom, and what would those ideals be? You know, now when we kind of go off like one of the previous videos he did, and he established that, you know, Luffy wants to have this big party, right? And I would think this big party is pretty much to unify the world, right? And then in one of the other theory video I did, the first Reddit theory I did, when we talked about what the One Piece is, and it was more so a project to unify the world, right? To destroy the red line, you unite the seas, you make it to where people could go free, like move about freely. You know, I would think those ideals is more of that unification of the world, you know. And there was probably people who didn't like the 20 kingdoms, the people in the 20 kingdoms, they like the separation. I would think that they would have, for them, they would have probably liked the separation because it keeps some certain individuals out, you know. Like if it was, maybe they didn't want to be around giants and fishmen and skypeans, and so they didn't like this idea of integrated society. You know, they like the segregation of society. It's kind of like the civil rights, you know, back in the day, the civil rights, you know, they didn't want that integration between, you know, black people and white people, you know. I mean, because those were the two main races at the time, but you could even go to other races like maybe Asian people or, you know, other immigrants that might come to America, you know, early in the 1900s. So it was, you know, they didn't really like the idea of integration. And I would think that maybe the ideals of whoever, the 20 kingdoms that oppose the ancient kingdom, they didn't like the idea of integrating the world. You know, they like the segregation. They like having the red line up, you know, and having different seas. So, and there might have been other ways they would have benefited to having this segregation. But, you know, let's let Artur talk.
what do you think were Joy Boy's ideals? Or in other words, what was Joy Boy's dream? Well, try to ask yourself this instead. If you had to put it in one word, what would you say is the biggest theme in all of One Piece?
Unification.
What single theme do you think perfectly encapsulates everything this story is about?
Bringing people together.
What do you think is, at its core, the fundamental ideal that the characters of this tale pursue?
この海で一番自由なやつが海賊王だ。
Freedom.
Joy Boy's ideal, Joy Boy's dream, the one that the world government fears so much, was most likely an ideal of freedom. In his heart, what Joy Boy always desired was to be free, the freest man in the world. And I think that at first, Joy Boy was nothing more than just a young lad who set out to sea. A young kid from a small island who wanted to be free. And so the only way he could do that, the only way he could be free, was by becoming a pirate. I believe that Joy Boy became a pirate simply because it was the only way to be free. Much like in our world, which was incredibly oppressed at the time, pirates set out to sea for the purpose of living a free life. Oppression leads to a desire of freedom, which leads to a surge in pirates. And at its core, One Piece is a pirate story. If you think back on our own world's history, the reason why pirates emerged was for freedom. During a time where the common folk were oppressed by those in power and freedom was almost non-existent if you weren't on the privileged side, pirates sailed to sea to be free and not be bound by the dichotomy of society. Many of them might have been cruel and have caused many horrible actions, sure, something that we also see reflected in the world of One Piece. But among them, there were also others who had more noble ambitions. A defining trait of pirates in our world is that they broke through a lot of the social boundaries that divided humans. They saw people who had different skin colors as fellow humans, and shared their ideals of freedom with them by forming pirate crews of mixed races. Does that sound familiar? They broke through the idea of racism to bring everyone together, which is exactly what we see pirates and especially Joy Boy do in the world of One Piece. Joy Boy, much like all these pirates, left his hometown and set out to sea to pursue his dream of freedom. He traveled the world, visited so many islands, gathered a large crew, and met so many people. Joy Boy was not afraid of those who were different. He was a pirate, someone who shared that freedom with everybody, regardless of their race. He made friends with all types of people: fishmen, Shandians, minks, Kuja, giants, and all sorts of races. Joy Boy gathered a large crew, made many allies across the world, and eventually, at some point, grew so powerful that he established a kingdom of pirates. Much like how pirates in our world did the same, establishing pirate kingdoms like that of Tortuga or Libertalia, pirate kingdoms where pirates could live free, Joy Boy established his own pirate kingdom in this world. He founded a kingdom where people could be free, where they could be pirates like him and party together hand in hand. Joy Boy ruled not as a monarch, but as a friend.
Yeah, I'm glad he talks about like the different types of people on like the different races of people on Luffy's crew. I mean, even though most of them are human, you got Jinbei. Frankie is a cyborg. He's still human, and Brook is. So I mean, he has different types of people, right? I think, I kind of think that, like let's say Carrot, if he has Carrot, that would be a mink on his crew. But even besides his main crew, we have the Straw Hat Fleet, right? Let's say post Dressrosa Straw Hat Fleet. You have giants. You have the Long Arm Tribe. You have Long Leg Tribes. You have the what are they called? The little people. The Dwarves. You got the Dwarves, and they're all part of the Straw Hat crew or fleet. I'm thinking like, I could see Luffy definitely getting more, like increasing his numbers of his fleet. With I'm sure by the end of Wano we'll have the minks, we'll have the samurai from Wano, we'll have the ninjas. Is not really main ninjas, but maybe some smile fruit users, even though they'll still kind of be human. But I could see, maybe we'll see more races. The Kuja, I could see the Kuja eventually joining Luffy's side as part of the Straw Hat Fleet. Maybe the Skypians, because since we was in Skypea. The fishmen. Like Luffy's going to have a ridiculously insane fleet, of just different types of different people, different races, just all together fighting for him. So Luffy already been planting, like we already see throughout the series, Luffy already been planting seeds of, making friends that I could see eventually fighting by his side later, that might eventually be part of the Straw Hat Fleet. Even though they aren't necessarily now, I think they will be part of his fleet or just close allies that's willing to follow him, even if they're not part of the, fleet per se, officially part of the fleet. he got all these allies that will definitely fight under him. And, you know, that's definitely a great thing to see, you know.
And this position perhaps might have been what led him to being called by his people as the Pirate King. And this kingdom was located none other than at the ends of the world, on an island that would one day come to be known as Laugh Tale. While it hasn't been confirmed officially yet, it's something that has been strongly implied across the series. After all, the 4 road poneglyphs lead to this location, and it would make sense that if Joy Boy left the One Piece anywhere, it would be at his home kingdom. But even more clear is the fact that the image that both Crocus and Inuarashi visualized of Laugh Tale is identical to the image of the Great Kingdom that Clover visualized. This island, this kingdom, was key to the Void Century.
Sorry. I wonder if he's going to connect this to his previous theory about Laugh Tale. Like, I think it was the first theory that I reacted to of him specifically, of Artur, and it was a theory about Jaya, right? We got Jaya, which is a skull, that island that looks like a skull that's missing its, I want to say, his left eye, maybe. Yeah, I think it's missing the left eye, and the left eye, I want to say was it the left eye? Like, I want to say, like, some of the island was shot to Skypiea, right? It was shot up to Skypiea, but there was still, I think that left eye was still missing. I don't think that's the piece that was shot to Skypiea, but, and according to his theory, it could have sank, right? It could have sank, and you know, Laugh Tale could possibly be part, like, in its lobby. Like, if you go back and watch that video, I don't really know the video, but it was the first video I did of Artur Library of Ohara. I think it was called the best One Piece theory ever, or something like that. The best. But if you go back, watch that video, you'll know what I'm talking about. I wonder if he's going to connect it to this video, though, because his theory was that maybe Laugh Tale could have been part of that island of Jaya, and maybe it could have sank into, like, in its lobby, and that's why it's so hard to access, because it's below that big waterfall. We see it in its lobby, which makes sense. I think that would be a pretty dope. I think that would be pretty dope if that theory is right, though. I think that would be pretty dope, but I wonder if he's going to connect it to this one.
But this kingdom was not really a traditional kingdom. Sure, it had a home base island, that much is made clear, but I think the kingdom encapsulates not a territory, but its people, scattered all over the world. As Clover put it, the kingdom had become enormous, not because of a large territory, but because its people were scattered all over the world, as it included all the allies and friends Joy Boy had met on his journey. But I think what is most important to understand when it comes to Joy Boy's dream is that it's not something that he did for selfish reasons. Joy Boy did not become the ruler of the Great Kingdom because he craved power and control, or to rule over the world, but because he wanted to be free. And the only way he could be free was for everybody to be free. Joy Boy desired freedom not just for himself, but for everybody. Joy Boy wanted to bring freedom to those who had none, to those oppressed, to create a world where everyone was free, one where all could sail the seas in adventure without being shackled down by the restrictive mindset of society. After all, how can you be free if no one is free? True freedom isn't achieved by robbing it away from others, but by sharing it with everyone. Joy Boy wanted to turn the system, the entire world, upside down, and finally bring freedom to everyone in the world.
Pretty sure that's Goldie Roger.
This meant putting a stop to slavery, to the social hierarchy, to the system those tyrannical humans' kingdoms had created, but most importantly, to put a stop to racism and discrimination. Joy Boy wanted freedom not just from slavery and social boundaries, but also freedom for those who were oppressed, freedom for those minorities who were persecuted and hunted down for centuries. Joy Boy wanted a world where everyone was truly equal, not just by demolishing the political constructs that oppressed others, but also by breaking down the racial barriers that had kept people divided. Joy Boy really wanted to unite everyone and unify the world as one piece.
Facts. I'm telling you, like, I've been saying the One Piece is more of a, I don't think the One Piece is necessarily a treasure. It's maybe, I don't know. I would say maybe a plan. It's like a plan to unite the world. It's something that's going to unite the world. I think, and I think the ancient weapons are definitely important. You know, because like we seen in a previous theory in the previous videos I've covered, previous theories that I've covered, that the plan is to knock down that red line. And it's already predicted that Luffy is going to destroy Fishman Island, right? Like Madame Shirley predicted that. How do you destroy Fishman Island? I don't think Luffy's going to go up and put a bomb in Fishman Island and blow it up. He's going to destroy the red line, which is inherently going to destroy Fishman Island. You destroy the red line that unites all the seas. You unite all the seas. You basically unite the world in one piece, basically. So I like where he's going. So far, he's, I didn't know if he was going to go this direction, but he's been going it, and he's been going this direction, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it because to me, it's just kind of confirming, what I've been kind of, already thinking. Not originally thinking, but,
And it's the specific objective that really ties everything together. Because once you start to think about it, it's already been confirmed in so many ways that Joy Boy was someone who wanted to achieve equality for all the races of the world. We see this in the fact that so many of the poneglyphs of the Great Kingdom were mostly left to different races. The Shandians, the Fishmen, the Mink, etc. And particularly this bond between Joy Boy and other races is something we see so clearly in Joy Boy's relationship with the Fishmen. He was an ally of the Fishmen, but even more importantly, Joy Boy made a promise with them. The details of this promise have never been specified, but we can easily deduce what it really was, because the promise is something that involved the Noah Ark, and, put quite simply, what is the purpose of an ark? The purpose of an ark is to emigrate people, to help a very large number of people to emigrate and head somewhere else. What Joy Boy had promised to the Fishmen was to transfer them to the surface. He promised he would change the world to a point where they could live in the surface alongside humans.
My only argument about this need of a Noah's Ark, is they're fishmen. Like they're fishmen. So I feel as though, like, can't they just swim somewhere else? Like, do they need to be transferred with a ship? Can't they? I'm pretty sure fishmen could swim through that water pressure. I mean, like we seen how, like, outside of actual Fishman Island, that there's fishmen that live in like areas just in the ocean, like in the bottom of the ocean. So, I'm pretty sure the water pressure of being in the bottom of the ocean isn't affecting them. So, why can't they just swim somewhere? Why do they need to be transferred on a ship? That's kind of my only, and it's not against his theory. It's just my only kind of argument against this need for an ark to transfer the fishmen.
Humans without fear of being persecuted. Joy Boy had the Noah built to help the entire population of Fishman Island emigrate to the surface. As the Sea Kings put it, it was likely that clan, the D clan, that built this ark in the first place. Mass immigration is not simple, especially through such a dangerous journey that we've been told many times is very difficult to undertake. But this ark would be big enough to ensure everyone would be safely transported to the surface. The ship was designed with enormous chains that Sea Kings could pull, the only realistic way in which a ship of this size could be carried, which would be done with the help of Poseidon's authority. So, working together, Joy Boy and Poseidon could help the fishmen move to the surface and help them live alongside humans. And this is something that is confirmed to us in a scene in chapter 621, where Neptune described that Otohime's dream is the same dream her ancestors had, shown over the backdrop of the Noah Ark. And as we know very well, Otohime's dream is to move the population of Fishman Island to the surface. For years, she worked hard to convince her subjects to move there, to trust humans, and have the courage to face them, to be able to coexist with them, that love could prevail over fear, and that there was a place for people to live together. Or, to put in our own words, what Otohime always sought after was the day where everyone could live under the same sun. Because it's that yearning for the sun that unites people together. Just like Otohime mentioned, the fishermen gathered at the roots of the sun tree Eve because it was the only place in the seafloor where they could get a taste of sunlight. But to them, sunlight just isn't enough. They know deep down in their hearts that they yearn to see the real sun. They want to live under the same sun as all the humans. And that is because the sun is a symbol of union. Scientifically speaking, the rays of the sun result in a chemical reaction that releases serotonin in our brains, bringing us joy, which is why the light of the sun have become symbols of joy and hope.
Joy boy.
It's why people consider sunny days to be good days and cloudy days to be bad days, because the sun, quite simply,
Hey man, I like cloudy days. You know, I like cloudy, rainy days. I mean, I like them when it rains, only because the rain keeps, you know, it's that peacefulness, that calm you get, you know, and it's just relaxing, especially when you want to go to sleep. You know, you want to get some good sleep. That rain just relaxes you. So I think rainy days are good too, but I do believe that sunny days are definitely, you know, give you that energy, that you know, that joy, I guess. You know, sunny days are nice too. They're great. They're great. You need both of them. You need both. You need the sunny days or you need the rainy days to appreciate the sunny days, and the sunny days to appreciate the rainy days.
scientifically brings people joy. And that is precisely the type of joy and hope that Joy Boy wanted to bring, symbolized by the sun itself. A
Joy
light
Boy.
that could bask and embrace all in the world, regardless of who they are, to bring them joy. That is why he came to be known exactly as just that. Joy Boy. The boy who brought joy.
The boy who brought the joy.
Hey, hello, this is Artur from the future here, so allow me to interrupt this for just a second. So this episode was originally edited and finished all the way back in May of 2021, but since then Oda has introduced a story element that basically spoils just about everything I wanted to explain here, so wow, thanks Oda. Jokes aside, I'm talking of course about the sun god Nika, and given his importance, I thought I'd at least make a quick inclusion to talk about him in this episode. The figure of Nika, in my eyes, is undoubtedly that of Joy Boy. Just like Who's Who explained it, this legendary figure from ancient times is someone who symbolized the sun, being perceived by some as the god of the sun. Nika is someone who brought joy and laughter to slaves and those who were oppressed, something that is emphasized by his own name. Likely, Joy Boy's true name, either first or last name, being Nika, because Nika is one of the Japanese sound effects that can be used for laughter.
I'm sorry how he says it is funny. Nika. It almost sounds like he's, you know, saying a certain word I'm not going to say on here. But it's almost, you know, almost like, it sounds like he's saying that word. Like, what up, my Nika? Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad he's talking about the sun god, though. I'm glad he brought that up, because I kind of didn't know if he was gonna go in that direction anyway. But so yeah, you know, I think maybe Joy Boy is Nika, or maybe he inherited the sun god's will. Like, I don't know, I don't know. Let's see where he goes.
And thus, much like the sun, Nika was someone who brought joy and laughter to everyone in the world. And of course, I'm sure I don't need to point out how it is that he did that, because a simple glance will make it clear that Nika looks like he's dancing and partying, being nearly
Luffy.
identical to the figure of Luffy partying in Skypiea, just like we mentioned last episode. And just as legend says, the day Joy Boy reappears, he will deliver a party that will connect the entire world together, and through it, he will bring laughter and joy to everyone. The man who was just like the sun, someone whose shining light could bring joy to all he formed a bond with. This union of friendship, of nakama, That is the bond that Joy Boy formed with his crewmates, with his allies and with his friends, and the bond he wanted to form with everyone in the world, symbolized by the sun.
I also want to remind y'all, about what Hio said in, I want to say 2 episodes ago, when Hio seen Luffy Gear 4, like when they was fighting the numbers, when it was those 2 numbers, and then X Drake came out and attacked the other one. Hio said he reminds me of the sun god. Like he was talking about that specific form, which is weird because you look at the sun god or you look at Gear 4 Luffy, he's like bloated. You know, he's much bigger. You know, he's much bigger. You know, I don't want to say fat, but he's like a lot more round. You know, and when we see kind of the silhouette of the sun god, when who's talking about him, he's slim. He's real slim. So, you know, maybe the sun god had a form that looked like Gear 4 also. You know, like maybe he also had like a form like that. Maybe if, let's say, Joy Boy was, if Nika was indeed Joy Boy, you know, or if Nika was an actual person, let's say, maybe he had the Gumu Gumu no Mi as well, and he had a Gear 4 form. Maybe it wasn't called Gear 4, but maybe he had a form where it pretty much was what Luffy called Gear 4. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. You know, I don't know how that's, you know, how that's connected. You know, you know, like how Gear 4 Luffy looking like the sun god is connected to the sun god silhouette that we see when Who's Who is talking about him. You know, I don't know. That's interesting though. That's interesting. I'm just saying, my only explanation would be maybe he had the Gumu Gumu no Mi, or maybe he had a form, maybe he had a different devil fruit that kind of allows him to kind of expand, you know. Maybe like Sengoku, like the Buddha fruit.
絵空に描く幻想よりも太陽へと続く道。
俺の仲間になれよ。
This is shown over an image of Otohime's grave in Joy Boy's Noah arc, showing that all those years later, through Joy Boy and through Otohime, we're seeing once again a connection of friendship between different races being made to forge a path towards the sun that will unite everyone. This bond of friendship, this parted bond, is a bond of nakama, a special bond that ties people together, no matter the race, no matter who they are. And it's the symbol of the sun that ties together Joy Boy and his allies, not just symbolically, but as an actual symbol. For example, the fishmen have this fascination with the sun, and so the fishermen pirates would eventually use the mark of the sun to brand themselves. But not just that, the brand of the sun was used to raise the brand of the celestial dragons. They were quite literally replacing the symbol of the government with the symbol of the
freedom.
sun to indicate that they were free.
Yeah,
and keep in
symbol of
mind,
freedom.
this is a mark that appeared as early as East Blue, meaning it's something that Oda likely had in mind ever since the very start. Similarly, the Kosuke clan, other allies of the Great Kingdom, also bear a small sun within their crest. The Minks also use that crest as a symbol given their ties with the Kosuke clan. The Shandians have also shown to have imagery of suns in their decorations as well. In fact, on Wiper's arm, we can see the symbol of the sun tattooed on it. The flag of the Kuja, while a bit more of a stretch since it's meant to represent the head of a Gorgon, does also sort of look a bit like a sun. And while Elbaf does not have such a mark, they do have a festivity that celebrates the sun. In Big Mom's flashback, we learn of the solstice celebration, where the people of Elbaf fast for several days to celebrate, in their words, the rebirth of the sun. And did you notice something about all these different countries? All of them are from different races, from different minorities. These even included humans such as the Kosuke clan or Joy Boy himself, but the fishmen, the minks, the skyfolk, the Kuja, the giants, almost all the oppressed races of the world were allied with Joy Boy.
And now that he says that, Now that he said all that, what is, the Sunny? You got Luffy's ship is called the Sunny. And I don't think he necessarily planned that. It's like Frankie I guess Frankie put like the line, the sun line in front of his ship, and then they named it the Sunny. But still, coincidence? Maybe, but it was definitely a purpose to it. And it, again, Luffy possibly being like a reincarnation of the sun god, having a ship called the Sunny, there was a purpose. Oda knew what he was doing, man. Oda knew what he was doing. Let's get that correct.
Because they all believed in the same objective, in the same sun that tied all of them together. Together they worked to change the world because they truly believed that the sun could prevail. And that is exactly what Joy Boy strived to do. That was his goal. That was what he put so much effort towards in order to unite the world. Joy Boy's dream was to be free. He wanted to be more free than any person in the world, and to achieve that, he became the Pirate King, the freest man in the seas. And as a king, he founded an immense kingdom of pirates, one that was not bound by territory or monarchical rules, but that united and connected people all across the world. But Joy Boy wanted freedom for more than just himself or his people. He wanted freedom for everyone in the world. He wanted to free those who were oppressed. He defeated many tyrannical rulers on his journey, but he didn't want to stop there. He wanted to free the entire world. Joy Boy wanted to quite literally change the world and usher in a new era that would change it. Across the series, we hear this expression, the swell of an era, which is an expression that indicates a new era that will bring about change will come. And we are told time and time again that a new era is going to come. And that is exactly what Joy Boy wanted to do, to bring a new era that would change how the world worked. To bring everybody together, to live under the same sun, instead of fighting against each other, to party alongside them hand in hand. That was the goal that lied at the end of Joy Boy's dream, to unite the world through the sun, something that was symbolized by the sun itself. Joy Boy wanted to bring the rise of the sun to the whole world, to start a new era that would change things for everyone. And yet, we all know how things ended. Joy Boy was not able to bring this party to the whole world. The winners were the humans. They won the war, they defeated Joy Boy, and prevailed. They erased all traces that were made of him to make sure that his ideals would never be inherited. They doubled down on their oppression and made sure that no one could take power away from them. They founded a world government, an organization that held a stranglehold on the world, ensuring that no one could ever be free again and steal their privilege away from them. But even so, for as much as they attempted to wipe away any traces of Joy Boy, his will, his dream, and the era he sought to bring, these are things that will never cease to be.
So this is kind of what we talked about in the previous reaction to the first Reddit theory I did with the the inherited will, the people's dreams, as well, the flow of time. I don't know if but it says these are things that cannot be stopped: inherited will, people's dreams, the swell of an era, which I think is kind of the swell of time as well, or the flow of time. And it says, as long as people seek the answer of freedom, these things will never cease to be. Pirate King Goldie Roger. Bars.
人々が自由の答えを求める限り、それらは決してとどまることはない。
Joy Boy knew, even if he was defeated, that one day someone would complete his dream, that someone would inherit his will and bring forth this destined era. He knew that even if the world government tried to purge the light, he knew that even if the sun would be engulfed by a long and dark night, that one day someone would appear that would bring an end to that night. Someone would make the sun rise once again, and it would be that sun that would bring joy, and it would bring everybody together. To usher in a new tomorrow where everyone could stand side by side, with no prejudice, no discrimination, but connected through a bond of brotherhood, of friendship, of nakama, and to do something as silly as throwing a massive party together, all united under the same sun. And it's that event, the rise of the sun after the long, long night, that would come to be known as the dawn of the world.
The dawn.
And that is the reason why Joy Boy created and left behind the One Piece. But that is a story no one yet knows about.
Let him go a little bit. Alright, next one we talk about the ancient weapons Pluton, Uranus, and Poseidon. Again, you know, I already told y'all what I believe like Uranus is. Pause. But it's crazy, you know, like, cause you know, like, I'm hearing his theory, and it just has the gears in my brain going. And let me change. It has the gears in my brain going, and I'm kind of thinking of other things too, like, you know, like we look at Luffy, right? We look at Monkey D. Luffy, and it's just a lot of evidence that connects him with Goldie Roger for one. Yeah, he was kind of the first person we kind of like mirrored him to. And then we learn of Joy Boy, you know, and it's, you know, and then we see it could be some connections with Joy Boy and Luffy. You know, maybe Luffy and Roger both inherited Joy Boy's will, right? Because Roger and Luffy are already so much alike. You know, that straw hat alone just kind of connects their will. I don't want to say destinies, because, you know, Roger doesn't have a destiny any longer, but they connect their wills, right? But Joy Boy is kind of, you will see, as like the prime will of them two, is who they got their wills from. And then we get introduced to the sun god Nika. Now it could be Joy Boy, or it could be somebody before Joy Boy who came along before Joy Boy's time, right? And, you know, he could be kind of the, I don't know if it's the word I'm not going to use that word because I don't even know if it's a word, but he could be the originator of that will. You know, like they could all be carrying his will. And then, you know, a lot of this theory that we just watched is really centered around the sun. You know, so Luffy is kind of like the sun god, you could say. He carries the will of the sun god. And if that's the case, you look at the sun. What is the sun? It's, you know, it's a celestial body. You know, in our universe, in our solar system, the real world, it's the biggest celestial body in our solar system, right? It gives us light, you know, which in a sense creates life, all these things. And it gives light for the most part, you know, it gives us light. So we're not living in darkness. But then you think darkness, you know, and this is why I like Oda, because, you know, I don't think it's something anybody really thought about. But you look at like who do we kind of see as Luffy's rival, you know, like who's been set up to kind of be Luffy's rival to finding the One Piece at least? Teach, Blackbeard. I mean, you could say Akainu as well. Like, he has to defeat Akainu, but I don't think they're necessarily rivals. It's just, you know, we see him as somebody that Luffy is most likely going to have a confrontation with. You know, because Akainu's the one who killed Ace. And then you look even higher, you got the Gorosei and Eam, you know, another group of people that you could look at as possibly Luffy's rival. Now, Luffy doesn't know Eam. I don't know if he's aware of the Gorosei either. But, you know, they're kind of, you know, they're enemies as well, you could say. But when you look at the rival, like the person that, you know, Luffy's kind of in contention with, especially to achieve his dream, it's Teach, you know, and it makes so much sense. Luffy being light almost, Luffy being the sun god, you know, his abilities kind of consistent. Yeah, it consists of rubber, but he can also kind of use fire as well, which, you know, kind of goes in line with the sun, light, all that, all of that. But Teach is the exact opposite. You know, he has different moral code. You know, he's he's despicable. You know, he would betray people. He'd betray his friends. He's willing to step on his friends in order to do it. He's not like where you see Luffy, who's more direct. He goes attacking somebody. Teach would more so wait in the shadows and bide his time, and then find the opportunity to attack, maybe behind someone's back or when they're weakened or whatever. But Teach's devil fruit is the darkness fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi, which is kind of the complete opposite of, you know, light. You got the darkness and then you got light. You know, so, you know, I would look at Teach, he's probably the closest person I would say to use his darkness to almost extinguish the light. You know, like a black hole could swallow up a star, a sun. The sun is a star, but when you look at other stars, a lot of them are as big as the sun or even bigger. And you think of a black hole, you know, I would think a black hole could swallow up the sun. And so it just, I don't know, you know, I just had that idea kind of going in my head because he was talking about the sun so much. And then you think of Blackbeard, who his power is kind of like, I mean, darkness and rubber ain't really connected. If you want to go just off of devil fruit alone, I would probably say Kizaru is more of Blackbeard's enemy, you know, as far as devil fruit enemy. But I'm just talking more I'm just talking more about like morally, ideals, right? Where Luffy is kind of the light of the world, right? He's the light of the world. And he wants to free everybody. So, you know, he's like that light of the world, I guess, just to keep it simple. And Teach is more of trying to throw the world in darkness. He's like the darkness of the world. So, you know, I kind of find that interesting, like that dynamic, a little interesting, especially we've been talking about the sun and how Luffy is, you know, his dream is to unite the world and everything. You know, and then you got Teach, who's the exact opposite. You know, I mean, Eam is also the opposite too. He wants to kind of keep the system how it is because he's the one in power when you think about it. But I would say Eam and the Gorosei are more of a balance force, right? They're messed up, but they also do try to keep order. You know, they do a lot of messed up things. The world government does a lot of messed up things, like have slaves, keeping people segregated. But when you look at Teach, you know, like, I would probably be more afraid of his ideals than, let's say, the world government's ideals. You know, he's trying to, you know, he's more of maybe disorder and anarchy and darkness. So, you know, there's that. So you kind of have three different sides. That, you know, like, you got three different aspects of One Piece, right? You got three different aspects. You got Luffy. What he represents is freedom, you know, letting the world be free, unification. Then you have the world government, who is order, you know, keeping things how they are, you know, subjugation and everything. And then you got Blackbeard, who he's kind of like Luffy, but on a complete opposite spectrum. He's more just straight anarchy. I mean, that's freedom as well, you could say, but, you know, it's not freedom in the sense where, you know, people are united. You know, it's freedom in the sense where it's like savagery and, you know, the strong survive and the weak perish or get subjugated, in a sense, you know. So you have more of the freedom, the more of a balanced system that the world government does kind of bring, you know, where they kind of, you know, they don't treat everybody bad, but you know, a lot of people do get treated bad, and some people, you know, they don't get messed with, but you know, it's like they can get be slaves at any moment. They can be slaves at any moment, you know. And then you got the or more anarchy, you know, and not like in the, you know, just people being free and people being friends and united. It's more of an ununited anarchy. Luffy has a anarchy, but it's more of a united anarchy where people get along, but they're free to live how they want. Blackbeard kind of got a anarchy, but it's more like the strong rules, or you know, and more so Blackbeard's world. He's the top of he's the top predator. You know what I'm saying? He's the top of the line, but it's more of a anarchy where the weak would not benefit from. So yeah. Again, make sure you go to the original video, like it, like the video. You know, he's sitting there putting a lot of work into his things, and so I would appreciate if you guys could at least go show him some love and like his videos, give him a subscription, go watch his other videos. Go ahead and watch some of the episodes ahead of me, you know. But again, make sure you like this stream. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Subscribe. What do you have to lose? You know, if you love One Piece, I'm over here. We discussing One Piece over here, baby. And yeah, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, my Facebook page, Bluff God. You know, links are all in the description. You know, Facebook group, Discord, all in the description. Anyway, y'all have a good Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. I don't know what day you'll be watching this, but you know, y'all have a good day. And we'll be back sometime. You know, I might do another stream, maybe Friday. I don't know of what yet. Maybe we'll be doing another Reddit theories thing. And you know, if you're watching this like within a few days, you know, I'm thinking of possibly doing like a yearly wrap up for Sunday, since we don't got no chapter. You know, if you're watching this in the most recent chapter, and the most recent chapter is 1035, you know, there's no chapter, you know, coming out, you know, and we're about to be going into 2022. 2021 is about to end. So, you know, I might have to do some type of a wrap up. I'm not too sure yet. I might have to go back, read all the chapters of 2021, and we might have to find like the best moments in One Piece 2021. But anyway, y'all have a good day. I'm out of here. It's Sean P. the Bluff God. Hey, I'm out of here. Peace.